Or I can appreciate those. I can appreciate those people, even though they're a small percentage, but those people that'll run through walls for me. I can sit here and I can complain about those who are disloyal, or I can love on the people who are loyal. And in these verses, he is discussing who is around him and what they are doing. But in verse 23, something begins to change because his focus begins to shift. Everybody say shift. It begins to shift from an outward perspective to an inward reflection. Let me say that again. An outward perspective to an inward reflection. The psalmist says, search me. Everybody say, search me. Then he says, test me and know my anxious thoughts. David asked God a very complex question, even though it's very simple in its essence. He said, search my heart and my mind and point out what is wrong within me, what I say and what I do. Now, I want you to write this down. I believe it's important for the people of God to write some things down. His statement shifts from what is going on the outside to what is happening on the inside. Now, as a believer and as a follower of Christ, it is important for the people of God to understand that things in your life must change. Everybody say change. When you begin to work in ministry, when you make the decision to live for Jesus, certain things in your life must change. And you no longer can live your life the way you did before. You have to make some changes. And contrary to popular belief, when you choose to follow Christ, you now become an enemy of the evil one. Stephen Furtick says that the birthmark of a believer is a bullseye. Look at the person in front of you. Just look at the person in front of you. There's a bullseye on their back. Every one of us, I don't want you to get my words twisted this morning. I want you to understand very clearly, the enemy hates you. He hates your family. He hates your position. He hates your calling. He hates your purpose because he hates the God Almighty that we all serve. And so the birthmark of a believer is a bullseye. And one of the biggest mistakes that we can make is that we judge a person by what they do on the outside without dealing what's on the inside. The enemy has taken a hold of our mindset, because as we think, we also shall do. Write this down. Bad thinking leads to bad habits. Bad thinking leads to bad habits. And I want you to write some things down very quickly. Your repeated thoughts become your actions. Your repeated actions become your behavior. Your repeated behavior becomes your character, and your repeated character becomes your lifestyle. Where did it start? Your thoughts. And so if the enemy can get you in your mind and how you think and how you look at things and process, he knows that eventually it will lead to your character and your lifestyle. So the enemy knows that if he can come to New Harvest and he can imprison your mind, it will eventually affect what you do on the outside. And one of the most impactful ways that your mind can be held captive is if you live in a place of having anxious thoughts. You don't catch this. I didn't say to you of having anxious thoughts. I said live in a place of having anxious thoughts. Because all of us have been discouraged. Have you ever been discouraged in your life? Have you ever felt anxiety in your life? The point is not to stay there.